Good morning, TJ. The weather has been ugly. The roads are slick. I've been getting my workout in every morning on the treadmill and the bike and lifting the weights, but I was outside yesterday walking to a meeting and got an additional workout trying to walk through the snow. So, yes, it's been pretty ugly up here as far as the weather goes.
Yeah, I saw it's like Chicago-like commute times. Talking to Representative Plowski earlier this morning, told me that it took him 40 minutes to go a half mile. So that's I don't envy you there. Sometimes I get upset when we get like a backup at Broadway, but that's nothing compared to that up there. So Senate President Jeremy Miller joining us. A lot to get to here in this interview. Senator Miller, I want to start with the package that was introduced by Senator Chamberlain about legalizing sports betting. Now, there's 8 states that have already legalized it. Obviously, this issue has come to the forefront with a recent Supreme Court ruling. What do you think of it as it stands right now?
Well, TJ, it's an issue that I've actually been working with Senator Chamberlain on after the Supreme Court ruling that made it pretty clear that sports betting is now legal throughout the country. We've been trying to find a path forward. It's an issue, believe it or not, that I've heard about from constituents that they want to have the opportunity to bet on sports. And in a lot of cases, it's already happening. What this would do is bring it forward in a regulated setting, and certainly something that I'm supportive of if we can get it done in the right way. It's not an easy task. There are a lot of moving parts, and I know Senator Chamberlain has been to a few different states analyzing and trying to learn what they've been doing, including Nevada, which of course Las Vegas is the mecca of not only sports betting but all gaming or all gambling and betting in general. So it is a package that I can be supportive of, and we're working through it, trying to get it right. There is some opposition from the tribal communities who have casinos here in the state of Minnesota. So we're trying to work through those that are opposed to it, work through the opposition, but I'm hopeful it's something that we can get done in the next session or two.
Minnesota Senate President Jeremy Miller joining us this morning on In the Know. Senator Miller, when we talked last week, you sort of teased, as we call in the business, a bill that you were going to introduce. What do you have on that?
Yeah, so I'm actually working on 2 bills in the area of health and human services, and this is an area that I don't often spend a lot of time in introducing bills because I don't serve on the committee. But they're 2 very important bills, and actually 2 bills that really have the potential to be life-saving. And the first one is working together with the Rare Action Network and some constituents in our area, Shanna and Nick Quimby, with Gavin Fine for a Cure. I was worked together with them to add 4 new newborn screening or new diseases to the newborn screening list here in the state of Minnesota. We called that the Super Gav Act, and they were instrumental in helping get that done. And they've brought to me a bill to establish advisory council on rare diseases. This would be at the University of Minnesota, and this rare disease council would provide advice on research, diagnosis, treatment, and education related to rare diseases. And TJ, as I've been working with the Quimbys and others on this, I've learned a lot through the process, including 1 in 10 Americans have a rare disease. 30 million people have a serious lifelong condition, and more than half those are children. So this is a really important issue that we want to address and improve on here in the state of Minnesota, and I'm confident that this Advisory Council on Rare Diseases is the first step in that process. So I'm excited to introduce that bill. That bill will be introduced this week. And then I'm also working on another bill. This was brought to my attention by another constituent from La Crescent, who's a medical provider, and this has to do with EpiPens or epinephrine, folks that may have an allergic reaction and need an EpiPen in order to get through that allergic reaction. So What this would do is allow people to get certified to carry an EpiPen, and if once they go through that certification, they can administer that to another individual if they are having an allergic reaction. So if you think of a county fair or a sporting event or another community event, I was told that roughly 10% of people, which is more than I had thought, about 10% of people carry an EpiPen, and a lot of times these allergic reactions happen at these large gatherings. And under current law, technically, if someone is having an allergic reaction and they don't have an EpiPen to administer to themselves, it'd be illegal for someone else to have an EpiPen and administer that to them. So we are going to change that law, and oftentimes these allergic reactions turn into a life-threatening situation in a very short period of time, and acting quickly is critical and life-saving. So this would, again, help folks in those circumstances, potentially help save their lives. And again, this was brought to me by a constituent in La Crescent, and they did something similar in Wisconsin a couple of years ago, and it was called Dillon's Law, and we're modeling the legislation after that and trying to get it passed here in the state of Minnesota. So that will be passed, or that will be introduced in the next week or so.
Very nice. Hard to believe there was that much red tape surrounding something that is life-saving like that. That is awesome that that was brought to your attention. I want to go to an issue now that may be a bit contentious up there in the legislature. House Democrats introducing a bill to convert the state of Minnesota to 100% clean energy by 2030. How do you think that will fare in the Senate, and where do you stand on it?
Sure. I'm all for clean energy. Very supportive of all the forms of energy, especially clean energy. And in fact, I have solar panels on my house, so all about renewable energies as well. My concern about mandating it is it actually makes the energy more expensive when there's a mandate in place. There's a current renewable energy standard in place right now that we're on pace to meet or exceed, and I am very cautious about 100% renewable or clean energy mandate, because again, what it does is it makes those forms of energy more expensive when companies know that there is a mandate in place. So I do not expect to see much traction on that in the Senate, but that does not mean that we're not supportive of clean and renewable energies, because I think just about every person you talk to is supportive of clean and renewable energy.
Yeah, and so I guess in other words, you're supportive of the idea of introducing more clean energy, but maybe not to the threshold of 100%.
Yeah, not to the threshold of 100%, and I think we have to be cautious when we make mandates, because the energy providers now are already moving in this direction, trying to deliver more clean energy and energy efficient ways and savings to the ratepayers. And once you make it a mandate, then the folks who are out there producing that clean or renewable energy, oftentimes the prices go up and the ratepayers pay more. So I don't think it's something that we have to mandate. We can certainly encourage them to continue down that path, but they're already doing that in most cases on their own.
Minnesota Senate President Jeremy Miller joining us this morning. Senator Miller, thank you very much for taking the time as always. Hopefully you get some good traction up there in Slick St. Paul. We'll talk to you next week, okay?
Sounds good, TJ, and as always, I appreciate folks' comments, feedback, and any questions that they might have on the issues that we're dealing with here at the Capitol. My office number, 651-296-5649, email address, sen.jeremy.miller@senate.mn. You can also find me on Facebook, Senator Jeremy Miller. Always a pleasure to talk with you, and thank you for having me on. Everyone have a wonderful day.